What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the NIO's deliveries for the weekend, which will most likely be coming out, and how this may affect NIO's share price. Now, before I break anything down about this, before I go over some important data you need to see that will affect what could happen to NIO, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 8 hours from the time I'm recording this. It's almost over. It ends today. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, when it comes to NIO, right now the share price is just a tiny bit to the upside. I did actually make a prediction that NIO would hold up quite nicely and we would actually stay in a pretty good place. I also mentioned that if NIO did rally with like Tesla in the market, which obviously could have happened, it could have actually broken above 10.75, but so far it just chopped around and it's just very indecisive, getting very ready for the big event that's about to come. So the real question is, what's going to happen? If we get a really good deliveries report for the first quarter and also for the month, NIO is going to fly above 10.75, go to 11.2, 11.5, and all the way up potentially to the high 11s, if not the 12s, or even higher, depending on how good it is. If it's an okay report, I mean, NIO could pop a little bit, but it won't be way too strong. And if it's a bad report, if NIO comes short, the share price is going to tank pretty hard. It's going to come down to fill this gap around the 9.8 area. If that fails, then it's going to come down to 9.5. There's $9 flat, another gap down here at 9.23, and then potentially $9 flat once again. So very unfortunate. But once again, it's best for us to be prepared and just watch what's actually going to happen. So far, if you look at what NIO's share price is actually, looking like, you could technically argue that we have what's almost looking like a bearish divergence developing here. The RSI, once again, is very, very overextended because NIO was running in a very short period of time. And it's actually, in my opinion, very high. It's actually higher than where the RSI was back here in near the end of January when NIO was actually around the 13th. So that's actually technically a bearish signal. But once again, technicals are not everything. Even though it is kind of leaning in that direction, technicals aren't everything because of the fact that the data is what's going to matter most. On the daily chart, I just want to note that we don't really have that same divergence, or at least I'm not seeing it as of right now. Right here, actually, it technically almost has it. It's actually like the RSI is very high compared to right here. So actually, I do see it. I am seeing some signs of the RSI being overextended just about here and here. So we do technically have another bearish divergence, which tells us there is a chance NIO might actually not pump as hard, or the rally may be short-lived. It's a possibility. Once again, not a guarantee. I just wanted to inform you about this. But I want to now talk about the bigger factor, and that is how the market will affect NIO and also what's going on with deliveries. The market could affect NIO in a way where if the market pulls back a bit, this could slow down the run on NIO. But I don't really think it's going to be as significant. What's more significant is going to be deliveries. Deliveries right now are continuing to grow, but so do different estimates for NIO too. NIO set itself from very, very high expectations. And in my opinion, this could be a good thing and also a bad thing. If it's good, what could be good about it is it does set NIO up for a lot of very, very big moves from the future, lots of growth, lots of big goals. But the bad news about it is when expectations are too high, NIO does not always meet on them. The same thing has happened to Tesla and other companies. Just like if you look at Q4, NIO was supposed to give us 43 to 48,000 deliveries, and instead they actually lowered it. So things like that sometimes happen depending on different factors. As far as the data goes for NIO, I just want to note something important. NIO is supposed to be giving us, let me just look at this first. I think it's 31 to 33,000 deliveries for the first quarter of 2023. That's the expectation. So now when we look at the data, we had about 8,500 plus 12,000. That's about over 20,000 so far. We're going to need at least almost 11,000 at the very least for March, if not higher. We need that. In fact, I would prefer if NIO actually breaks the February record, we should be able to achieve that. Now, that is what's going to help NIO soar, or at least improve its share price. I don't want them to just barely meet the goal. I want them to once again break the records and get at least 13 to 14,000 deliveries. Now, could NIO achieve that? Could they actually do that? So far, when you look at the amount of registrations that ended up coming, we had about 2,000, almost 2,000 just last week, and about 1,700 the week before. And overall, it's looking like NIO NIO needs to give us between 10 and 12,000. I think they're most likely going to come very close to this range, but I'm hoping they get something higher. What's very important is we only had about 9,000 vehicles registered for insurance in the last 4 weeks. Uh, Although the first week did include the first days of February. Now, this article actually came out, I think, just a couple of days ago. So it is a little bit behind, but at the same time, we want to see NIO meet those records. I don't want NIO to reach the lower end of the spectrum, the lower end of the range of what deliveries we want. So far, vehicle registrations are suggesting it may not be extremely strong. However, once again, I'm not going to solely look at this. I want to see the numbers in real life first, because that could actually be very different. This did come out a couple of days before the quarter was going to end. We'll just have to wait and see on it. Now, I also want to note that as far as NIO's data goes, we have decent volume right now. We're holding up quite nicely. We held above 10.5. And right now, the short volume has been decreasing. So we're getting a lot of buying pressure. We're getting lots of good volume, and we're getting volume that's actually helping NIO in the positive direction. Price price ratio going up. NIO is outperforming the market, or at least it was until today. It did actually underperform a little bit, but it's just trying to hold up, and it's very indecisive once again. Right now, there's not a whole lot else that really matters at this point, other than the fact that NIO has some big things coming up. And we are seeing a big increase in the amount of NIO shares shorted. So I do find this a little bit suspicious. Could they be shorting NIO because they already know the data is not going to be that great? Or could NIO just absolutely kill it? We'll have to wait and see on that. What do I think is going to happen? Now, looking at the data, I just want to note that we want, once again, around 11,000 at the very least. However, I don't think that's going to be that great, because when you look at February, we had 12,000. We want to break our previous records. If you look at the previous years, right, look at 2020, right? We had a decrease in February because of Lunar New Year, and then all of a sudden a big increase in March. Look at 2021, same trend, decrease in February, increase in March to beat February, and also come very close to this record that was back in January. 2022, we had a decrease this was actually a decrease from January to February, and then we had an increase by the time March came to get 10,000 deliveries. So then why is NIO going to only give us 10,000 deliveries in March if we actually did 10,000, last year in 2022? Could it be demand is slowing down big time and they have to do a better job at actually bringing it up? Who knows? But once again, what I want to see is if they give us 11,000 or so, they could technically meet the guidelines. So that could be not too bad for the share price. It could still hold up and try to pop a little bit. It won't pop too much though if we barely get 10,000 or 11,000 or something like that to meet our expectations. If they give us 12,000 deliveries, if NIO somehow comes up with 12,000 deliveries for the month, that's going to be a little bit more bullish. It could actually help NIO's share price try to get closer to $11. It is technically possible, and it's going to actually help NIO reach its goal. And finally, if NIO gives us, over 12,000, maybe 13 to 14,000 deliveries, if they beat the record and the projection for the first quarter, which is between 31,000 and 33,000 vehicles delivered in total, if they manage to beat that by giving us a 13 to 14,000 month, that's going to be bullish. The share price could actually show lots of signs of improvement, get above 11, get closer to 12. That's very possible. And anything above 14,000 is going to cause the share price to explode. I'm not really seeing that though. Now, what do I think it's going to be? Based off registrations, they're a little low, so it might be another like 11 to 12,000 in total. And that is a little unfortunate. It could help the share price at least somewhat, but it's not going to like rocket insanely hard solely off of this if that ends up being the case. I'm hoping for something closer to 12,000 at least. I really want to see this thing break the February numbers. So we'll have to wait and see on that. If they beat February, then there's a better chance of the share price improving a lot. But once again, like I said, there's a lot of shorting going on for NIO. Lots of shorts are piling in right now. And on top of that, we do technically have a bearish divergence developing on the charts. Did tell you guys that NIO was looking really good and we did get the push to the upside that I was talking about. But then I told you all that, look, it's pushing up, but don't become too relaxed. Don't become too excited because we have to wait for deliveries. I was optimistic and I am still optimistic. I think NIO is going to do well. I'm hoping we get above 10,000 deliveries. We try to get closer to 12,000 or even higher compared to these numbers. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think NIO could achieve it. But once again, registrations are not the best so far, so I'm still going to be very careful at the same time, right? So we'll wait and see. Let's hope NIO surprises us. Let's hope NIO does very well, and that's going to help us going forward. In total, NIO has it's had over 310,000 deliveries, and I believe there is still insane growth to come. The last thing I want to mention is the fact that William Lee Bin, the CEO of NIO, was saying they're going to give us 250,000 deliveries for the year. That's over 20,000. That's more than 20,000 every single month. How are they going to achieve that if the first quarter is barely at like 30,000? So they need to give us over 220,000 deliveries from April, the beginning of April, all the way to the end of December. That's a very, very big goal. Now, why would he make that expectation? That's because we are expecting NIO to really improve and rack up deliveries this year, which means that they should give us higher numbers going forward. Hopefully, it can start in March. We'll just have to wait and see on March. But later on, I still see immense growth, and I do believe NIO is going to do well. All right, so I'm still technically bullish going into the later term for NIO. But for the short term, let's be very careful now. We do have these gaps below, and also Deliveries is coming out right now, and NIO is going to make a very quick reaction to it. All right, so we have a big day. I believe the numbers should be coming out tomorrow because it's going to be closer to April 2nd in China compared to here in the US. If not tomorrow, then it should come out by Sunday, and that's for like the USA time. All right, so let's wait and see. When the numbers come out, it's going to be very, very big for NIO. Thank you for listening. NIO to the moon because the long term is still incredibly bright, and peace out.